What comes to your mind when you hear that someone is suicidal or that someone struggles with depression? What does that person look like to you? Would it surprise you that Christians sometimes struggle with these thoughts? Would it surprise you that pastors, more often than you realize, struggle with these thoughts? Bryan Marler, pastor of Bethel Baptist Church in Noblesville, Indiana, has a struggle that almost killed him. In these series of videos, Bryan lays out his fear, his thoughts, and his feelings that almost led him to commit suicide. And he and his wife, Kylie, are willing to share their pain, their recovery, and their journey to live and manage a very real issue that's facing many today. We hope these videos help.
I'm Bryan Marler. I'm the pastor at Bethel Missionary Baptist Church in Noblesville, Indiana, and this is my wife, Kylie. We have two kids, Amelia and Elaine, twin girls. They're 3, and a whole lot of trouble. We've been married for 5 years, and she kind of married into the ministry. It wasn't one of those situations where, we were married and then I decided that I wanted to be in the ministry, but she knew she was marrying a pastor. She didn't know what she was getting into, but she knew she was marrying a pastor. So I'm diagnosed with major depressive disorder and borderline personality disorder, which kind of work in conjunction with one another to lead to depressive episodes and have history of suicidal thoughts, ideation, stuff like that. I don't know if I can really pinpoint any certain time. When I was in college, I dealt with some ups and downs, and some considering what I've experienced, probably on the milder side of depression and depressive episodes. I had a longtime girlfriend in high school. We broke up. I was in my first year of college, I think, and I didn't take that well, as I'm not sure any college student does if they break up with a boyfriend or girlfriend that they had for years. My college experience took a hit from that. I stopped going to some classes, and because of that, I actually got dropped from a class. And that kind of set me off on a spiral, and through some people that my parents knew, I was able to sit down and kind of talk one-on-one with somebody, which was really the first time I'd done that. And really have conversations about how I was feeling and why I was feeling that way, which they were very short. It was a brief stint of that, but kind of understood that maybe my mind worked a little bit differently, or my emotions did. I know I think my parents have always known I'm an emotional guy. My mom has said that about me from when I was a kid. And my emotions can be all over the place, and when I feel very strongly one way or the other. If I'm happy, I'm really happy. If I'm upset, I'm really upset. Mad, I'm really mad. And not all over the place. I'm not diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So that's not what I'm talking about as manic depressive or anything like that, but just very expressive, and I just feel a lot, usually all at once. And so with that being, I think that's a kind of a combination between borderline personality disorder, BPD, and major depressive. If I'm on a down tick, I really swing down. Really can get low. And so, going through, I started seminary actually not long after that incident in college, and dealing with the difficulties, the already big ups and downs of ministry has been tough for me and tough for us because of that. But I really didn't have a name for it, and I didn't have anything until 2018. It was in March, and we I'd already been struggling probably for, a year, just emotionally. I felt like I couldn't keep it together. Every little thing was set me off either bad or worse. Really struggled mostly with the question of if I'm having such difficulty doing what I'm doing, how is God using this? Like, what am I doing here, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I would have conversations with my pastor at the time. I would have conversations with Kylie, and just really, I know I said this multiple times, and I still feel it now sometimes, and I say it's lowness. I just felt like I was broken, like I didn't work right. No matter how much I tried, I just couldn't work right. I couldn't get my emotions to work right or my mind to work right. I always had this voice in the back of my head telling me that I was wasting my time, and I know that like everybody deals in ministry probably deals with that voice of inadequacy, mm-hmm. of you're wasting your time or whatever. But this was more of for instance, I'd be driving just down the road. Like, I go to the grocery store, and we had 2 kids, and I'd go to the grocery store, and I'd be driving, and in Traverse City you go down this big hill, and there's traffic coming up, there's traffic going down, and this voice would just pop up into my head. You're not only are you wasting your time, but the things you do, the feelings you feel, the thoughts you have are simply a burden on everybody else around you. And almost like casually would say, probably the best thing you could do is just pull your car into the oncoming traffic. At first it was infrequent, but it got more and more frequent of thinking that I was the worst thing for our family. That Kylie or the girls would be better off, and they would have been better off if I had not been the husband. And that our church would be better off if I were not there, if I were not in service. And that maybe the churches that I had been involved in previously, it got real deep in that, analyzing like every little thing to the point where I didn't like even being alone, because when you're alone with your own thoughts, you really get to know yourself, and I didn't like myself, and I expressed that I didn't like myself and that I hated myself, and no matter how much she or my pastor or anybody else that I talked to, it did not matter what they said. In my mind, they were disillusioned. In her case, she loves me. Of course she's going to say that, right? But surely she must know that everything would be better off without me, kind of thing. And so one Wednesday we got home from church, and our nightly routine a lot of nights was I would go down. There was a corner store about a mile down the road from our house, and I'd go down there and I'd get maybe a couple slices of pizza from the deli there, some sodas, and we'd sit down in front of the TV and watch TV or whatever after the girls went to sleep. And went there like I always did on that Wednesday night, and I drove down and I drove back, and somewhere on that drive, on that mile there and mile back, I said, you know what, I'm done. And I didn't have necessarily like a plan or anything, but my plan was that I was going to wait for Kylie to go to sleep and wait for the girls to go to sleep, and that I was going to figure out a way to die because I just couldn't handle being me anymore. And so I got home, and because she is my wife, and we had been married for 3 years at this point, she knew that something was wrong, something that was off with me. You know, I wasn't carrying on conversations. I was very not there, which they actually tell you that if you know somebody is dealing with depression or suicidal thoughts, if they experience a sudden calmness or a sudden disassociation from everything around them, that you should get them help.
Now, as you can see, we're not talking about a passing negative thought. It is an extended period of time that feels like you're just falling in a deep, dark hole. Now, the next video, we're going to see how his wife recognized the signs. But let me end with this. If you feel like you're on a downward spiral and you can't stop, please reach out to someone and be honest with them and tell them, I need help. And when someone does reach out to you, don't dismiss their thoughts. Don't trivialize their problems. Listen to them, then help them get the help they need. This happens far too often, but it doesn't have to.